This is the concierge, sir.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Concierge Confidential. I'm your host, Brian Ortega, and in our first video podcast, here we are. So, obviously, this is a work in progress, but I've been really working on it. I have about 7 lights looking at me right now, and I finally got to use this wonderful Las Vegas sign here. It has like really cool bulbs, but I just put new batteries in it, so it's extremely bright right now. I have a little Allen over here in the corner, and those of you listening on audio format, no problem. It's going to be very similar, just with visual aids. So if you find us on YouTube, which is Concierge Confidential, come check us out. Really excited for you guys to check out some of the stuff that, I'm putting together for you. And I know this is going to come out kind of at a weird time because it's right after the World Series. And I've been waiting for this game to end, and it's actually still going on. And we had to start doing it. So I'm excited. So I am going to be starting a new series called Hotel vs. Hotel. And we're going to be comparing 2 hotels that are very similar to each other and see which one is actually the better option, or which one I think is a better value, or overall just which one I think is better. So we're going to be doing that in our first episode, where I'll be able to show you some of the places that I went to. So if you are watching on YouTube, you'll be able to see that. If you aren't, if you're just listening on an audio podcast, don't worry. We'll explain everything as we go through, just as we usually do on every single podcast. So thank you so much, everybody, for sticking along with me on this ride. We're trying to sort of upgrade things as we go along. As you can see, if you're watching the video, I have lots of movie stuff around me because I do like doing movie stuff. So hopefully you check out, stuff that I do movie-wise. So without further ado, let's start our first episode of our video version of the podcast. Okay, hello everybody. So we're going to be starting a new series where we're going to be taking 2 hotels on the Las Vegas Strip and then pitting them against each other and figuring out which one is better. So they have to be relatively close in price and amenities. So today we're going to be starting off with the Park MGM versus the Paris Hotel and Casino. They're very much in the same vein. I would say that they are slightly elevated, moderate hotels on the Strip. I think they're in good locations, depending on how you look at it. And in terms of price ranges, I think they're actually very similar. So first of all, let's go over the differences between the two. So Park MGM is what people would consider the southern end of the Strip. It's right across MGM Grand. It's also in the corner of Tropicana and Las Vegas Boulevard. Actually, it's not. It's actually just before that. So it's still across the street, but either way, Park MGM used to be the Monte Carlo. It's been renovated, or was renovated when I was still working there, so that would have been 2016, 2017, where it changed to the Park MGM, and everybody would still get confused. But the hotel itself is supposed to be very much a green park look to it on the inside, so you're going to get a lot of eco-friendly stuff in there. You're also going to get a lot of non-smoking options. It is a non-smoking casino with designated smoke areas, which are outside. And overall, the hotel itself is very clean. I would say it does have the tint of MGM Grand in it, just because what I mean by that is that everything is very much cookie cutter to what MGM Resorts wants, because they are an MGM Resorts property. That's also the major difference between that and the Paris. Paris is a Caesars Entertainment property, so they are part of that rewards program. So that's where they kind of differ in terms of their big overall philosophy on what they're looking to do in terms of their casino and hotel offers. The thing that I was always told when I used to work at Caesars, I worked at the High Roller for a little while, and you have to do all of the indoctrination or all of the new hire stuff, where they explain to you kind of what is the brand identity. And I would actually say that Caesars brand identity is actually quite interesting, just because it is one of those brands that has a very large scope of who they serve. They do serve very high-end customers, think like Caesar's Palace specifically, and then they also really focus on that median level of guests, which is actually very interesting when you're talking about Las Vegas right now, because that's really what a lot of economists or people who study Las Vegas are saying Vegas is missing. Vegas is missing out on the middle class, the people in the middle who would come to Vegas with a certain price budget, and they're missing those people. We have very budget-friendly hotels, and we also have very high-end hotels. It's that middle range that's sort of getting missed. So that is interesting in their sort of brand identity of how they're going to tackle this. So I would definitely say that Paris definitely fits a step above sort of the median level of what you're thinking of a Las Vegas customer, just because they are on the center of the Strip. They also just took over a whole tower that used to be owned by Bally's, and that is now, obviously because they are the same company, owned by the Paris, which is now where they have their ultra luxury rooms that have balconies that overlook the Bellagio fountain. So I actually did a little bit of a walkthrough today, so I'll go ahead and just pop those up as I kind of go through. So I started at Park MGM, which I have free parking for, so that's awesome. So Park MGM itself is actually that's funny because they're actually both tri-wing hotels. So they actually have 3 wings on each side. And I actually really enjoy the inside. It's very fresh. I think the main lobby is probably something that leaves a lot to be desired, but there was not a lot of people. I did go on a Monday. I think that should be important to note for a lot of the videos that you're going to see. This is from a Monday walkthrough, so it's actually pretty chill. It's actually quite nice, maybe a little bit of an indication that you should probably go visit on a Monday. But they do have in their main lobby Primrose, which Primrose is their cafe casual dining spot, even though it's not casual. That's actually one of the main things that get really irritated about MGM properties, is that this is actually a place to start, is that they don't offer a lot of like casual diner breakfast spots. Probably the best example of that would probably be at the New York. They have Americana, or American, excuse me, that's the name of it. I always want to call it Americana. But like Primrose, it's supposed to be like their breakfast spot, but honestly, it just looks way too fancy for somebody who just wants bacon and eggs. It's sort of like an Eggs Benedict, a brunch spot, and that's really what they focus on, is doing like brunch and that kind of options inside of that restaurant. It has a beautiful view of the pool, which is nice, but it also has a view of the lobby, which is, not bad either. But again, it's going to be a much more sort of toned down lobby, very much focused on being a self check-in first lobby experience, which that was actually their main focus was going to be. They had all these terminals set up when they first opened the hotel, and then they found out that people had trouble checking in on their own because they'd never done it before. So I think they still have that option, but most people do still check in with a front desk agent. So as I continue my walkthrough, it is not a far walk from the check-in desk to the actual hotel rooms, which is actually quite nice. A lot of people really enjoy being as close as possible to the check-in desk when they are coming into the hotel, which is very, very nice. And I've actually never really had a very long experience checking in at Park MGM. I don't know if it just ends up being the times that we check in or if it's just the nature of that hotel, but I never really have an issue checking into that property. So from there, if you go to the other side, you actually start your long walk to the casino, the main part of the casino, which is actually quite separated. But on your way there, you do get to see the chef truck. Important to note that the chef truck, if you notice in the video that's on YouTube at the moment, that it actually is closed. It's actually closed on Mondays and Tuesdays. So one thing to keep in mind is closed on Mondays and Tuesdays. And I have done videos on the chef truck quite a bit. And I actually really liked the chef truck when it first opened because a lot of the items that were served were things from the movie Chef. And it was actually like very much like everybody touched everything on that sandwich. And it was so good. They have a beautiful Medianoche, which they've turned into a Cubano because nobody wanted to eat their vegan Cubano, which Duh. And then they've actually like added things to the menu that are a little bit more commercial. And then they've also kind of changed a lot of things. They had really awesome beignets because they had like give you like 5, powder puffed beautiful beignets, and then they ended up just giving you they transitioned it because it was probably cheaper just to make it one gigantic beignet, which is not good. Like with cream, it's disgusting. I love the chef truck. I get kind of annoyed that you can't switch things, but I get it's their vision. But I really have an issue with how they operate the sandwich options. So anyways, moving away from the chef truck, which is still great. I think you guys should try it. It's a great late night option. It's also great for like a really like light lunch, even though it's going to be kind of heavy like once you actually eat everything. But overall, I think it's great for lunch. Love it. Fantastic. Keep walking. So as we make our way into the main part of the casino itself, you can see is quite clean, but you can definitely see that it has been renovated because it does have some of the like lower walls or lower ceilings that you get from like a 90s hotel. Again, like I said, this used to be the Monte Carlo, which was a beautiful hotel on the inside, very bright. I would say that this hotel definitely has its parts that are much brighter than others. When I was walking through the casino, they did have $10 blackjack at about noon on a Monday, which is actually very, very nice. I love hotels that have $10 tables. That's absolutely fantastic. A lot of $15 tables as well. And of course, they have a good amount of craps tables too. They do have a center bar, which is actually quite good. I did forget the name of the center bar, but it's sort of a generic center bar that has TVs all around. People watch the Super Bowl there, which is awesome. But it's really good, like fast walk up, get your drink and go bar, because some are not. So I think these circular bars are some of the best options if you have enough bartenders at them. There are some hotels that have like this center bar concept, and it ends up being like kind of a hassle because one person's on one side, you're never in the right spot, everybody congregates in the same areas, and it kind of sucks. So it really depends, really depends. So as you kind of make your way through the Park MGM. What I do like about it is that it is smoke-free, which is nice, and they have a good amount of slot machines. It's actually a very long stretch of slot machines, sort of old school, how we used to build casinos in Las Vegas was very, very long. But with this being this way, along the edges is where you're going to find a lot of the restaurants, a lot of the lounges, and the first one that I want to really highlight at the Park MGM is the Bavette's. Bavette's is awesome. Chicago-style steakhouse. They have a wonderful menu. It's very, very large. They have a lot of things you can choose from on the inside. They have a beautiful bar, one of the best bars in town. And again, I kind do these like on my video, and I'm looking up, and it just looks funny. But Bavette's itself, amazing bar, great for a date. It's very, very dark on the inside. I would say not more than like 4 people if you're going to be going to Bavette's. If it's 6 people, that's fine. It's a big group, but this is really made to be a very romantic, very intimate dining experience. And Bavette's is actually very approachable when it comes to price. In terms of steakhouses, you have to put everything sort of in a scale of a steakhouse versus like a regular restaurant. So I think that they are doable. They do have a beautiful steak frites that's on the menu. Steak frites are really good ways to get like a steak dinner in Vegas without going and paying a super high amount for a steak by itself and the other things as well. So they do have a really good bar program. I don't like that the way that they make their old fashions, but some people might. They have this really cool like little type of syrup or sugar that they use that they put into the old fashions. It's very interesting and it's different, which I think is good, especially when you're trying to set yourself apart. But overall, I think that their bar is actually one of the nicer restaurant bars in town. It is important to note that Bavette's does not have they don't have a TV inside. So if you're somebody who's like, I'm going to have a drink and watch the game, not happening at Bavette's. It is 100% you are there for the food. My dad, just have to shout out my dad, who listens to every episode, by the way. Appreciate it, Dad. He loves the bone marrow. He will go there and literally just eat bone marrow. Like that is his shiznit. So he loves the bone marrow, have some of the bread, has a couple drinks. he's good to go. And it's right next to the craps table, so he gets very excited. So as we kind of make, top notch. Bavette's awesome. You can make reservations there. It is not impossible to make a reservation at Bavette's. Just make sure you do it maybe 2 weeks in advance. If it's a really big event, the week that you're coming, I would definitely make sure to lock that down. Really, really important. So then they have Jupiter. Jupiter's a really nice little bar. They have a really good bar program as well. Probably one of the better bars in town. And kind of just as I'm thinking about it, I would say that Park MGM has one of the better bartenders throughout the property. It's actually probably one of the best. And I say that, seriously, because everybody knows my thing about the Bellagio, that I have an issue with their bartenders. It's very inconsistent. But the ones at Park MGM, very, very consistent. Jupiter, great bar, highly recommend. But as you kind of keep going, you're going to find yourself in this little split, and that's where they have the sportsbook, which sportsbook's fine. It sort of looks like a sports bar. It's sort of like their new thing that they're doing in Vegas, where they're turning a lot of the sportsbooks into sort of bar-looking places, which I don't like. I know that people who aren't familiar with Las Vegas and sports betting is new to them, that they're all converting these things to make them look like bars and grills. That's because where you're probably from, they never had sports books. So they're trying to make it something that's a little bit more approachable than what the old school version was like, this big giant board with all these numbers. That's a real sports book to me. But right next to it, they have Sidebar Betty. Sidebar Betty is honestly one of the best burgers you'll ever have in the town. It's probably going to be like $25, $26 if you get that with fries and a soda. But it is honestly so delicious. It's greasy, beautiful cheeseburger. Oh, it's so good. The fries are hot. Everything is, made to order. I love Sidebar Betty. I would say this place I would rank against any burger in town, including Gordon Ramsay. Yes, and Bobby. Bobby Flay's burger we'll talk about later. But I think the Sidebar Betty is one of the best not even a secret, best spots in town. So highly recommend Sidebar Betty. I would love for you guys to try it. It's absolutely phenomenal. So as we kind of keep walking through, you're going to see things like On the Record, which On the Record is a decent nightclub. A lot of hip-hop, especially because a lot of hip-hop is kind of going out of style. If you are somebody who enjoys hip-hop, it's one of the only places to still find it with the closing of Dre's. And I've been in here like twice, maybe 3 times, and it's very small on the inside. Like that, it was really funny that it's so funny. So, side story. So when I was working at MGM, we had somebody from On the Record come in and pitch us, what is this place? What is On the Record? And they said, yeah, well, you're going to send your people here, but only cool people. Not everybody, just your cool guests you want to come. What does that even mean? If somebody wants to go to your nightclub, you're going to let them go. And I always thought that was just so funny that he's like, just send your cool people here. And then it ended up becoming just a regular nightclub. They had these karaoke rooms, and they also had what else they have on the inside? They had a speakeasy on the inside. So they just had some really funny things that I think they still do have some of those rooms, but it's just funny. When he pitched it to us, it was really hilarious. So what was I talking about? So as I move on, we've passed Best Friend. Best Friend is owned by, it's Bill Simmons' friend. Totally forgot. I know a lot of people like this place. I'm not a fan of Korean barbecue, which it's not straight up Korean barbecue. It's actually David Chang. It's David Chang's restaurant. Is it Roy Choi? David Chang. All right, guys. Sorry. First time on the pod that we're gonna have to figure out who owns Best Friend in Las Vegas. My bad. As you can see, this is my bad, guys. Wrong person. Roy Choi. That's all I wanted to check. Roy Choi. Roy Choi, who also owns the Chef Truck. So there we go. First time we had to check the computer on the video pod. That's cool. But yeah. Best Friend, people really like. It's really good for big groups. I think that's probably the main reason to go. My middle brother, Vinny, loves that place. He loves the wings from the inside. But honestly, It's not my vibe, but some people really like that you go through like the back, and they have you basically go through the like back entrance. That's what it looks like, because it was like a candy store, and then that's what gets you into the actual restaurant. But I don't know, it's just fine. So as we continue on, we're gonna hit Italy. So Italy is honestly the main attraction at, well, I guess they have the Dolby Theater, but Italy is definitely going to be like the main attraction at Park MGM. When you go through, it has this whole like Italian vibe, obviously. There's one in New York as well, where they have all these different stations that make somewhat cooked to order food. So pasta is all cooked to order. They do have steaks. They have a wonderful meat section, and you can actually, this used to be a much more popular thing. The meat section used to have steak, and then they also used to have like different like loin chops and pork chops, some fish, I think, but it was mostly meat, like steak, red meat, and you can take it home. So you can buy like really like cool cuts of meat and just like take it home with you, or you can have them make it right there in front of you, which most people do. So as you can see, that you can make steak. They have a couple fish options. Salmon is really popular. All that stuff at that station. Then they have a wonderful sandwich station that does mortadella. They also have different other types of sandwiches, which are really good, and I can't pronounce them, so that's where we are with that. But everything's like in its own little space, which is really great if you're like with a large group and you guys all want something different and something that's a little bit more than a step up from like a burger. This is a really great place if you want something casual and you want to have like maybe some wine. They have a wonderful wine program. They have so many wines at their bars, and this place takes it a little bit far. I just want to drink a Coca-Cola with my pasta. And they do not sell regular Coca-Cola or Pepsi at Italy. It's like it is the Italian version of Coca-Cola, and it is not as great. So I'm not a fan, but also probably the most popular thing at Italy is the gelato stuff, or the gelato shop that you can go to on the bottom floor. So it's really fun, especially like late at night. It's a great place to sort of just sit, maybe be a little bit drunk, a little hungover. Drunk, hopefully not hungover like in the evening. But you can have, a little gelato, relax, people watch. Nobody's going to bother you. It's a nice little spot. So overall, did I cover all the Park MGM? I did walk by the Dolby Theater. The Dolby Theater, Dolby Live, is a great place that has wonderful sound. It's actually a very good size theater. Even if you're sitting in the balcony, you get really good views of the stage itself. And I've seen people like Cher here. I've seen, who else did I see? I saw at least one other person, but I totally forgot who it was. I guess it wasn't that good. But Lady Gaga performs here. Bruno Mars, this is where he performs as well. And Jason Aldean performs here too. So it is one of those like cool spots that you're going to find a lot of big performers and big names perform in this space. So, okay guys, so overall, Park MGM is probably one of the better budget hotels, but just a step above that, just because they have a few different actual celebrity chefs who have restaurants inside, and it's also a really standard hotel in terms of the rooms inside, but they have great views of the Strip, and it's also really close to the T-Mobile Arena. It's really close to the center of the Strip, obviously, and it also has a tram or monorail that goes from here all the way to the Bellagio, so it actually cuts out a lot of walking that ends up having to be done on the Strip, especially when it's hot. So overall, this is probably one of my more favorite hotels if you ever had to come to Vegas, and I don't know, I think it's pretty formidable between here and the Paris. So let's head on over to Paris and see what they got going on. Okay guys, so we made it. We're now here in front of the Paris with the obligatory terrible angle shot of somebody who's actually talking, and we're actually going to start on the outside of the hotel. So if you actually look behind me, that is Mon Ami Gabi, almost forgot the name of it, and this is actually one of the main reasons people come to the Paris Hotel, because it has a beautiful view of the Bellagio Hotel, except today, because we have the F1 stands in the way. But on a regular day, they're actually probably one of the most popular restaurants in the hotel, other than maybe Vanderplump's or Gordon Ramsay's Steak. but this is honestly a pretty affordable deal. I think you can get a steak frites here for around like 35, 36 bucks. Might have gone up to 40, but it is definitely probably one of the most popular restaurants here. So we'll go inside and see what the rest of the Paris Hotel has in store. Getting to the Paris Hotel, this hotel was open, I believe, 1995, 1996, maybe 97. It's in that stretch of time, and that is when they opened the Paris, where we built our half-size version of the Eiffel Tower, and it's cool. So one of my favorite little tidbits about the Eiffel Tower is that it is actually made of steel, and the one in Paris is made out of iron. And the one in Paris has real bolts that bend and bolt all of those pieces of iron together. The one in Vegas has painted on bolts because you do not need bolts when you're using steel. So those are all made to look authentic to the one in Paris. And that is another fact from my dad. So thank you so much for that wonderfully fun fact. And again, half the size because we wanted to build one the actual size of the one in Paris, but because we're so close to the Las Vegas International Airport, they said you are not able to do that. So half the size is what I'll have to do. Also, if you are somebody who's into architecture, the Paris Hotel is actually modeled after Versailles. If you actually look at the tops of the hotel and then the tops of the Versailles Palace in Paris, just outside of Paris, if you want to look at it that way, it is the exact same. So that is why they look very similar, because it is this wonderful, beautiful palace on the inside. Speaking of which, as you walk in, you can see the legs of the Eiffel Tower, as well as the beautiful sky that surrounds it. Very 90s. It feels very like 90s coded, that have like this really strong theme, which I think is great. Going into these hotels that have the theme still, places like New York, and Paris, I think really adds to the whole like situation, and I love it. I love going into like the Paris. It just makes me feel like, hey, this is Vegas, baby. I have no idea. It's Vegas, baby, until you get to like the main part of the casino and you start seeing like the stadium style gambling and then the craps table that it's electronic. That sucks. I hate that. But it's what they do. And again, that's another thing that you're going to find a lot in Caesars properties is you find these really big, like takes up a huge footprint, stadium style gambling sections for like craps, roulette, blackjack. And it's supposed to be, again, looking to the demographic that might want to play something that's not as intimidating like table games. So you find these a lot at places that cater to a lot of younger people. You find a lot of people who are like in their mid to early 20s stay at Caesars properties for a few reasons. One is the way that they are marketed to, and also the things that they have inside. One of the major things, and every hotel has like brand partnerships with chefs. Like look at Park MGM, like we just explained, they have one with Roy Choi. Well, Caesars has a very unique, Caesars Properties, excuse me, sort of speaking big picture here. Caesars Properties has partnerships with very large and very famous chefs, and they really exploit those brands. And that's a good and a bad thing. Like when they first opened Caesars, which was like in the 60s, and then when you got into like the 90s, Wolfgang Puck was really the first person to come to Vegas and put his name on like a celebrity restaurant and say, we're going to elevate restaurant food in Las Vegas. Because up in like in the 90s, this is the Vegas that everybody misses, everybody wanted something that was value. Well, they thought that, you know what, let's elevate it. And that was an elevation by having a Wolfgang Puck restaurant in Las Vegas. That's why you have at Caesars places like Nobu and Bobby Flay and all these other things. But you're going to notice, if when you come to Vegas, go to any property that's owned by Caesars Entertainment and tell me that there's less than 3 celebrity chef restaurants in that hotel. Big or small, they will have at least 3, depending on the size. But they are very much, we are going to put a celebrity chef's name on this restaurant, and you're going to come in. So it is really one of those things when you walk in, you're going to see a lot of that. So when you walk into Paris, the first thing you're going to see, not the first thing you're going to see, but towards the back, they have Gordon Ramsay's Steak, which is actually one of his better restaurants in town, especially if you want something elevated. It's really cool if you actually go inside of Gordon Ramsay's Steak, that above it, there's actually like a wonderful little chandelier, and that chandelier is actually his motions of when he's actually like doing a sauce or his knife cutting motion. So they undid it on his hand. So that was cool. And then it's actually quite an expensive restaurant, but it's actually very, very nice. So this is probably one of their elevated restaurants in town, or one of his restaurants. And probably the most fancy restaurant that you're going to find in the Paris is the Eiffel Tower restaurant. I've actually eaten here twice. And it does have like the most insane view of the Strip in general. Like, of course, the Bellagio fountains and the Bellagio itself. No, you cannot hear the fountains. But overall, it is a really, really beautiful experience. All the seats are actually like half of the restaurant. So if you like cut the restaurant in half, think of it as like a perfect square, and then cut it like a triangle, everything is sort of jolted towards the Strip. So the back half of it is actually just like the kitchen. So you always really have a really nice view of the Strip. Just depends how close you are to the window. This is one of the restaurants where you could pay to be right on the window, which I think is like $50. So that's up to you. But I mean, I don't like it, but that is up to you if you want to, to do that. This is also one of the only restaurants where I've seen somebody turned away for wearing shorts. They said, there's like, can I go up there for a quick drink during lunchtime? And it was like, 4 o'clock and 5 o'clock is when they start the dinner service. And they said, you have to be out by 5 if you're wearing shorts. We will not let you up there. So we still have some level of humanity in town. But again, that was a very specific case. But yeah, the Eiffel Tower restaurant is a very high-end spot, which can be very expensive. Also, one of the first places that I had a chocolate souffle. But I would say the Eiffel Tower restaurant is worth it because you are really paying for the view, the experience, and the location. Very, very important. So as we continue through the hotel is actually very clean. I think it's one of those places that the clientele sort of is very broad, a very broad level of clientele, which you also get at Park MGM, which is why I loved sort of versing these hotels against each other, because they are very similar in terms of who they are attracting. You do see, and I would say this is one of the major differences between MGM, Park MGM, and like Caesars, is that depending on what hotel you're at, you get a lot of conference and convention people at those hotels. Like Park MGM has a very robust conference business, so you get a whole ton of people in town for conferences. You will meet a lot of people here on a conference or conventions, especially during the week, but especially at Park MGM. I think because it's one of those things where it like lands in the correct price point for those people, and it is it's just one of the, and again, it just has a huge convention space. The same thing goes for like Paris. I tend to see a lot more like transient. By the way, when we say transient in hotel terms, that just means people who come in and out, not like conventioneers or anything like that, just people who come in and out, like a normal guest. So you seem to find a lot of these guests who are just, here on vacation, and again, can be upper and lower end guests, depending on how you want to view that. But overall, I think you get a good range of guests here. But the last time I was here actually at nighttime, I was actually with my brother and his kids and my mom. And number one, I would say this is the number one place you are going to find, not talk to, just find women. There are so many women who stay at this property, probably because it's so pretty. It's a very like feminine hotel because it's Paris, obviously, but also because this is where the original Vanderpump is. The Vanderpump inside the Paris hotel. This is not the original. I messed up. Caesars is the original. Vanderpump here at Paris is actually the second one, but I would say it's actually the better looking one. It's also much larger. The original one is actually in Caesar's Palace, which that one always looks super like small and tiny and packed. This one, very approachable. I actually really like the inside of this place. So Vanderpump here, very nice. But I've been here and there has been a million women, I should say, standing outside of Vanderpump's, all dressed up. And again, I'm like 32. A lot of these women are very early, 20s, and you can tell. There's just like a difference of how somebody who in their 20s dresses to somebody in their 30s in Vegas, which is not a problem. It's, it is what it is. We all go through it. But I hope to have a great time. But yeah, if you're somebody who's like in your 20s and you're trying to meet ladies, Paris might be the spot. But other than Vanderpump and meeting women there, right across from it, which is actually what I'm more excited about, is the Cafe Americano, which is a very, very approachable cafe. I've actually eaten here with my brother and my mom and loved it. I thought their pizza's really delicious. I thought their chicken fingers were good. But they also have a very good dinner menu with steak. They have really good salmon. They have really fantastic salads. They're so good. Their soda was delicious when I had it. Ooh, so tasty. But overall, I love it that you can just people watch from there as well. It's actually out in the open and really nice, like little bar on the corner. Really fantastic. And I really enjoy this place. So I think that's where this property and in general Caesars properties have a leg up over MGM properties in general, is that they have really great cafes. And I'm a sucker for a nice little cafe. So love cafes. So as you go through the corridor, there is this long corridor that seems to always be under construction. That is because that area, when you're walking on your left-hand side, used to be their buffet, which was a very large buffet when you walk through it. So it's like always under construction. So it's obviously not open. So as you walk through, you continue to walk through, you'll actually find little fun places. Like you'll find a Nobu off to your left, which is super random. I always forget that they have a Nobu inside of Paris, which they also have one at Caesar's Palace, the original. And this Nobu, not worth it. If you're going to do Nobu, do it right. Go to the one at Caesars. But this Nobu, it's smaller, it's branded, it's whatever. Everything in here is like a miniature of what the larger, better version is. Except Vanderpump's. Vanderpump's is huge. But you see Nobu, and then you can also see Bobby Flay's Burger. I told you guys, you go into these hotels, Caesar's property-owned hotels, and they are all branded with all of these celebrity chefs. And they're very famous celebrity chefs. They're not like, nobodies. These are big guys. So Bobby's Burgers, they're fine. One of his signature burger has chips on it, which he makes it they kind of act like he created that. I think like a guy homeless in, I don't know, Oklahoma came up with that. You know what I mean? Like anybody could have came up with that brand. And now it's there. So tough break for the guy from Oklahoma. So as we continue to walk down, let's walk to the absolute whitest restaurant ever created. And yes, I mean Caucasian white. And that is Martha Stewart's Bedford. When you look at this place, you can just see tax evasion. That's all you could see when you walk inside. It's very pretty on the inside. It's meant to be like her Connecticut home. It looks beautiful, very clean, very neat. They do have like a half roasted chicken, which I've seen is $46. So it's fine, I guess. But I mean, I just have to say, Bedford is one of the whitest looking restaurants I've ever seen in Las Vegas. So do with that what you will. Maybe my mom would like to eat there. I don't know. She was a huge Martha Stewart person, and now she's not. Who knows? But anyways, I did forget to highlight. I'm kind of doing this sort of as my memory kind of goes through it. I did go into the main lobby, and this is definitely where the Paris knocks Park MGM out of the water. Is they have one of the most beautiful reception, check-in desks on the entire Las Vegas Strip. It's beautiful. It's actually supposed to look like the Hall of Mirrors in Versailles, and it looks like that. It's really awesome, and it's gold. It sort of looks like Donald Trump's bathroom. Shout out Crazy Rich Asians. And it's just fantastic. And this is also like the place that a lot of Vegas influencers love to go and film when it's a very long line. Obviously, this day we did not have a long line, so I was able to get a really good view of the entire hall. And that's where you check in. And it's right by the front desk, right by the main drive, which is one of the hardest places to get into. And where they have the Arc de Triomphe, they have a replica of it. And I saw somebody jump up on that thing on New Year's Eve. Long time ago. Me and my parents stood out on the Las Vegas Strip, and like Red Bull was doing all of these like tricks around town. Like they did like this funny car thing that spun around, then they did something else where they did like a long jump. Those were honestly just the amuse-bouche, if you will, to the main attraction, which was, it was Robbie something, and he was taking his motorcycle, and he drove it up a ramp, up to the top of the Arc de Triomphe, and landed on top, and then jumped off of it. And then he finished the trick back on the Las Vegas Strip. It was awesome. It was one of the coolest things I'd ever seen. With that being said, they also have the beer park, which is a great place to watch any football games or baseball games. And they also have the Alexa Italian restaurant, which used to be the original Sugar Factory, which was the best sugar factory in town. So that's it. Okay, guys, so let's go ahead and talk about price. So this is what you guys all waited for. So we have to compare. And one of the things that I do want to talk about is the price. So if you are looking to book at one of these hotels, so I picked a random day in January. So I picked January 9th and 10th. So January 9th is a Friday, and to the 10th is a Saturday. So if you are booking the standard room, just a standard Park MGM King, you will be paying $199 per night, plus $50 resort fee. So that's $250 a night to stay at the Park MGM on a Friday on a random day in January. So how does that compare to the Paris Hotel? It should also be noted that the Paris Hotel does offer flexible booking dates, which brings the price down. But if you ended up booking a Bordeaux room, one king, you are going to be paying... Is it the same price? Oh my goodness, they're the exact same price. I knew I did a great job on this particular matchup, because when I read it, I was like, ooh, look at this one's more expensive. This one you'll be paying $254 a night. So it is actually $199 for the room rate, plus the $55 daily resort fee, which comes out to $254 plus tax. So you are actually going to be paying very similar prices whether you stay at the Paris Hotel or the Park MGM. I would say that the Paris Hotel rooms have slightly been renovated, and the Park MGM rooms are very, very minimalist. It's definitely feels very minimal on the inside, where you are literally just paying to stay at that hotel. So I would also reckon that these Paris hotel rooms do not have a view of the fountains. That's a very big deal. So it depends. So up to you. Where would you rather stay? Would you rather stay at the Paris Hotel for $255 a night, or would you rather stay at the Park MGM for $250 a night? If I was given the option, which I've given myself now, this is going to sound really stupid, but because I've actually stayed at Park MGM quite a few times, I would actually reckon to stay at the Paris Hotel. The Paris Hotel just seems a lot more, and again, everything's sort of conditional on who's with you and that kind of thing, but the Paris Hotel is more centrally located on the Strip next to the two beautiful escalators that do not work, but it is closely aligned, it's close to three other hotels on your side of the street. So you have Planet Hollywood, you have the Bally's Hotel, and then from there you can easily walk also over to the Paris Hotel, and then other hotels from there. And you can walk across the street, connected through a bridge, and get to the Bellagio. And it's very, very, effective or efficient to go to either one. So I would say that the Paris hotel, because I haven't stayed there before, and I would be very interested, is where I would stay. I know. I kind of surprised myself on that one. I came in here thinking that I was going to pick Park MGM because I really like Park MGM. Park MGM is a fantastic property, but I've done it before, and I kind of know where everything is on the inside. So that's why I choose there. I did also forget to mention that the Park MGM, again, this is if you're going to things. If you are going to anything at the T-Mobile Arena, the Park MGM has a wonderful commute from Park MGM to T-Mobile Arena. It's across the street. So I think that actually makes it much better if you are going to be going to something at T-Mobile to stay at Park MGM. It's just absolutely a fantastic walk. I mean, it gets really exciting down there for Golden Knights games. Even if you're there for a concert, you're not even there for a concert, you just want to be part of the experience. It's great. Do not try to come in and out of there during a concert because it is hell. It's probably one of the worst traffic jams in the entire world. But it is other than that, it's actually one of my favorite places to come in and out of through the back way, Frank Sinatra Boulevard. That's the spot. So yeah, I would recommend that. But for this particular exercise between Park MGM and the Paris Hotel, staying on a random night on January 9th, I would stay and pick the Paris Hotel and Casino. So with that being said, guys, this wraps up our first video podcast. I'm very excited. I think it went well. I actually made the time fly a lot more, that I was able to sort of look at myself and think about you guys watching, because that's just the fun part. I tried to look very hip in this because I'm wearing my Barbenheimer shirt. You can't read it. I'll still work on the look to it, but thank you everybody for just, supporting me the whole way through. We'll try to do more of these where I can support it with video, because I know I don't have that many guests on, but maybe in the future. But yeah, thank you guys so much for listening. Make sure you check us out on all of our Instagram, Concierge Confidential _LV, and then at Keys to Vegas on our TikTok page, and me, Brian _Ortega 26 on my personal page. So thank you so much for listening, everybody. Hopefully you guys catch us again on Thursday, and really appreciate you guys stopping by. So if you see me out in town, which maybe you will, I'm actually here. I'm going to be going to a wedding this week, but if you do see me out in town, make sure you come up and say hello. And now that you know my face, come up and say hello. And remember, keep it confidential.